basically a bunch of hooey. And certainly what you're hearing from the government is a bunch of hooey. And that's what you got back then too. And they couldn't tell you how bad things were, because when Hoover did that, he said, folks, go plant a garden because things are going to get bad. Guess what happened? Almost the next day, things got bad. People got really upset, and so they went out and they did plant a garden, and they put their money back in their pocket, and they didn't spend it. Okay, so one in 7 homeowners are either delinquent or in the foreclosure process, with a 0 funds rate and a $1.4 trillion budget deficit. And I'm going to talk about that more, because that is another one of those things that's basically BE. It's a lot bigger than that when you really look at what the deficit is. And we got small business failures. You know all this stuff. I'm not going to talk about that so much. Here's what I want to talk about, though. What we do, and we've been doing this not just, and this is not a political statement. I mean, this spans Republicans, Democrats, Independents, whatever. When you're in power, you redefine the way things are counted so you can look better. I mean, that's the bottom line. We did that with inflation. We're doing that with the unemployment rate. So right now the unemployment rate was around 10%, just under 10%. You'll hear them talking about that in the press. But the reality of it is we pulled out the underemployed and the people who just gave up working, and that takes us up 17% or above. So that's the real unemployment rate if you compare it to past history. That's the way it's always been defined. But now we put spin on things in our world and make things look better, and that's where we really are. If there ever was an advertisement to go get an education, this is it. Look at the unemployment rates by education level. If you got a college degree, it's about 5%. If you don't, it's going to be more like 15%. So, pretty substantial difference there. So, tell your kids or your grandkids, take a good hard look at this, because it's really critical. The other thing that we've seen, and I'm going to show you some slides on Texas that compares a little bit differently to this. Texas did not experience a home price bubble. We experienced a home sales bubble. The two are different. What we saw in most of the other parts of the nation was a huge run-up in prices. In Texas, we didn't have that, because we're such a free enterprise state that you can go out as a developer, get lots on the ground and build a house and be out of the ground in less than 2 years. In California, it takes you 5 years just to get the first permit, to get through all the regulatory environment. So all the crazy run-ups you saw of 30% increases in home prices were driven a lot by crazy government policies that made that happen, by constricting supply. We didn't constrict supply in Texas, so we never had that experience. So what goes up really high really fast generally does what? Comes down really hard, really fast. We didn't see that. So our home prices, we are moderating in Texas, but some markets are pretty much flat. And if you go to West Texas and places that are still driven largely by the oil patch, like Midland, Odessa, they were selling houses that'd be on the market in 2 weeks and they'd be sold. So there are some markets that are still doing quite well in Texas and haven't seen price declines at all, although I think that will change.